New York establishes a moratorium on data centers for at least a year. Anthropic drops a new promotional video. And DeepMind, Google DeepMind, suggests a new regulatory framework for frontier models. Today on the Actual Human Show, and I'm an actual human, John F. Gately, your host. Okay, let's get into it. Fox Business, Madison Allworth has the report on New York State. Hochul has announced a temporary ban on large data center construction. Take a listen.
Well, we know that it's going to pause the construction of data centers that are 50 megawatts or more. It pauses any future kind of green lighting for at least a year. And
so any green lighting for at least a year. We've heard this number, 50 megawatts, for a number of different places. In fact, we have a data center in Lowell, which is just around the 50 megawatt. Most of the opponents go bonkers if you have anything more than that.
The big thing there is energy. Hochul talking about how data centers drive up the cost of utilities.
Data centers drive up the cost of utilities. There are actually some interesting information out now that might not be true. It might be, I don't know. Let's let Madison explain what might be driving up the cost in New York State. Take a listen.
It depends on the type of data center you have and what the energy source is. New York is in a pickle of its own making. We have taken off more energy in the past 5 years than we've added on. So already ratepayers are struggling. Many data.
Oh, what? You've taken off more energy in New York than you've added on. So on a net basis over the last couple of years, you have less energy in the state of New York than you had before. So I'm just going to throw this out there that knowing, the little I know about supply and demand, maybe if demand is up and supply, maybe that could be driving the price of energy. I don't know. Maybe it's the green energy policies that are driving the problem in New York. Probably they took off some coal plants or some nuclear power. I'm not exactly sure, but net, they have less power in New York than they used to. And so maybe that's driving up prices, not so much data centers. Data centers might be a convenient thing to blame, but not the actual cause.
Data centers across the country require to have on-site energy generation, so they're not pulling from the grid. On top of that, her thing about water, I think that's incredibly dangerous. The water usage of data centers is actually quite low. Many of the modern data centers recycle the water for cooling, so it's not as energy sensitive. And this is a debate playing out across the country. Maine, which is run by a Democrat governor, Janet Mills, she actually struck down a bill that would have put a moratorium on data center building because
she did actually. And there was going to be a data center at an old sawmill up in Jasper, someplace like that. And then they canceled the data center for whatever reason, just not that long ago. So there is no moratorium in Maine because they wanted to make sure that data center got built because there's going to be a bunch of jobs. And then they pulled the plug, so to speak, on the data center with not a big explanation up there in Maine. So you can still build a data center in Maine.
I think many folks know we need to have data centers to run AI.
Yeah.
We have this concern that moves like this put us behind China. New York is lauding this as a big move, but they're the only state to do this. This is also the only state that's taking more energy offline. So you see the direction Hochul is taking the state.
You see the direction Hochul's taking the state. I've been saying for a long time that 2026 was going to be the AI election because I believed it was going to be affected by AI video creation, which it has. But what I didn't understand was that it was actually going to be the opposition to data centers funded by China and funded by the far left in America that would be making AI and data centers the number one political issue. Because what effectively the left has done is they've had a whole string of issues. We won't list them, but you know what they are. And they ride the wave of one particular issue. And this year, they're riding the wave of AI. That's just how it works. Next year, it'll be something different. Here is Governor Hochul, her own press center, or press office, I should say, putting out this, the Biden era meme with the eyes. So I don't know if you know this, but this was made with AI. So somebody else just pointed that out to me on X. But literally, this picture from Governor Hochul's own press office. This had to go through some data center to be manufactured or produced, and then it had to be posted. Yeah. So like she's using data centers to communicate about her moratorium on data centers. Ross Conley, my friend here. You chased the wealthy to Florida, then you begged them to come back. Businesses are fleeing the state, and now you ban a whole industry. In about 2 years, you'll be begging them back to build back in New York. Bingo, Ross. You're exactly right about that. No doubt about it. Here is the governor herself explaining the crazy policy.
These hyperscale AI data centers consume enormous amounts of power.
And of course, as Madison Allworth just explained, they have less power, self-inflicted wound in New York State. They have less power in New York State than they used to.
Truly threatening to outpace our grid's capacity, and they drive up costs for local ratepayers. And I refuse to let
the documentation of that is incredibly sketchy.
Let those costs be passed on to New Yorkers who already pay too much for their utility bills.
Why?
These data centers require millions of gallons of water, straining the local supplies. And when powered by fossil fuels, they
that's what it is, powered by fossil fuels.
Drive up our carbon footprint. They occupy massive amounts of land, potentially displacing agricultural space and open spaces. The bottom line.
I mean, well, look, can't we just have the market decide about how somebody wants to use their land or not? If you want to talk about using up land, how about we talk about the solar installations? And you're cutting down forest, and you're in here where I live in southeastern Massachusetts, you're taking perfectly good cranberry bogs and making them into solar arrays. Right. You want to talk about that in the land use?
This progress shouldn't arrive with a higher utility bill, deleted water supply, or noise pollution. So we have no choice but to address these challenges created by these massive facilities.
These massive facilities. Wow. Can we make that good? I don't understand why there wasn't any scary music behind that. Bernie Sanders thinks it's a great idea. A month ago, data center moratorium was based and called a radical idea. Today, New York became the first state to enact a moratorium. Again, what we're seeing is this massive anti-AI wave, which is going to hurt the state of New York, going to benefit other states that have reasonable policies. And the real beneficiary, of course, is our rival, China. The real beneficiary is our rival, China. AI must benefit all humanity, not just a handful of big tech billionaires. You hear this all the time where, if you're going to build a factory on roads that people, right, the old Elizabeth Warren line, that if you're going to do something, it has to benefit everybody. No. You see, it's the classic cliche where the communist looks at the sports car and says, that sports car could have fed 100 families. And the capitalist looks at the sports car and said, that sports car fed 200 families. It did not. Well, yeah, sure it did. It fed the people at the factory that made it. It fed the designers. It fed the truck driver, the salesperson, the guy in the parts department. Like a whole list of people made money and put food on the table because somebody valued the sports car, right? A communist sees the sports car as a frivolous thing that doesn't do anything for society. And of course, everything society should do should benefit everybody. But the simple fact of the matter is when people work in their enlightened self-interest, that's collectively what really benefits society. So thank you very much, Bernie. Enjoy the burn. Thank you for your leadership. AOC, data center moratorium gives lawmakers time to put strong protections in place and guarantee AI benefits all of us. It's almost the same post as Bernie Sanders, almost the same post as Bernie Sanders. Did we have the Bernie Sanders twice? Yes, we did. So we'll skip it the second time. We have some criticism. Here it is here. I like this one. From John Poderitz, however you say it. You know the thing. The last time New York State did something like this, it suspended fracking to appease environmentalists. And Pennsylvania took all the shale oil away from Daniel Plainview. Explained it. Cost to New York, untold billions. And what are they talking about? What is this clip with Daniel Day-Lewis? I drink your milkshake? What they're talking about is the famous movie, if you haven't seen it, There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis. And one of the most famous scenes is he explains how oil exploration works. And he basically is saying, I drink your milkshake, which means that, and there's this mineral rights law, we don't have to go into it, but effectively it means that whoever pumps the oil out of the ground gets to keep the oil. It's kind of like a finders keepers rule. And it doesn't matter if the oil came from, somewhere off of your property in the olden days. I'm sure there's rules about it today. But in the olden days, it doesn't matter if the oil came from to the far left or far right beyond your property line. It's just whoever pumped it out first and kept it. And this is a perfect example of what happened in New York with their let me just pull this up here with their there you go. There you can see it here with this map when they did the moratorium on natural gas. Look at all those dots that are right near the New York border. Do you think all the fossils died way back when, and they consciously decided to die on the Pennsylvania side of the border? Do you think that's what the fossils were thinking? Hey, the school of fish here, we have to die here so that millions of years later we can be pumped out of the ground on the Pennsylvania side of the border? Of course not. That's stupid. What is actually happening here is that there are no gas exploration on the New York side of the border. And obviously there's some gas on the New York side of the border, but it's costing New York billions not to get it. And that's exactly what this post is here explaining, to appease environmentalists. And Pennsylvania took all of the shale oil away. Yep, exactly. And the jobs with it, right? And the jobs with it. Sebastian Good. Blue states just refuse to build things, data centers and factories and other protective things. We will be built in red states instead. I'm not thoroughly convinced that this is a red and a blue state issue. There are some number of let's just take Florida, for instance, that have kind of been harsh on data centers and AI for that matter. So it's not a perfect red-blue state comparison. And there are definitely blue state politicians who want to make it bipartisan, there's a lot of people out there that want to make it bipartisan so it doesn't look so much like China's winning, even though they are. But there is a strong correlation, but it's not unanimous that it's a blue state or red state situation, but it is kind of, more or less along party lines. Steve Malloy, real stupidity defeats artificial intelligence. Boy, that should be the title of this video. New York became the first state in the nation to impose a moratorium on construction of data centers. It's hard to know who to be more frustrated with. I think we'll leave on this note before we go on to the next topic. Are we more frustrated with New York's eco-Luddites, the tech industry who helped create the eco-Luddites, or communist China funding of the eco-Luddites? Well, that's a race to the bottom. Can we go with D, all of the above, Steve? Because I think it's all of the above. Yeah, we can be equally frustrated with New York's eco-Luddites, the tech industry who funded them, and China's communists who also funded them. So let's be equally annoyed. So there you go. Data center. You can almost hear the jobs just sucking away to other states. And again, it will just be like the thing with the Amazon jobs. Remember that? The Amazon jobs where AOC killed the Amazon headquarters. It was Amazon, right? I'm pretty sure it was Amazon in New York City. And they went and built it somewhere else. So, yeah, bye-bye jobs. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Or was it the Google headquarters? I think it was the Amazon headquarters that she killed. Next up, Claude AI video pauses hard questions on trust in AI's future. Let's take a listen to this video.
Can AI be trusted?
Who's going to hit the brakes if we need to?
How do we really ensure that what we're aiming to achieve really does benefit the majority of people?
If it ends up taking like almost all the jobs, then what does it mean to work?
Well, wait a minute. Why do we have to have this stuff?
Oh, man, I hate that quote. Why do we have to have this stuff? Wait a minute. Let's, in other words, like Anthropic themselves are asking, like, should we ban it? That's kind of a Kathy Hochul question.
With a machine.
You don't have to have it, sir. If you want to live a life where you don't use AI, then fine. You'll go live in a cabin somewhere.
Can pretend to care better than I can actually care. How do we draw the line there?
If we all had a voice in it, then I feel like it would be better.
Could AI help people stop feeling misunderstood?
Could AI help me build more connections in the community?
Can AI help me be a better teacher, a better mom?
Maybe it'll cure some great things,
Things that we're not even at the cusp of understanding yet.
Will it create a group of people that ask more questions?
What if we started to be more human again?
We don't want to lose the most beautiful parts of life.
There's hope in hard questions. Oh, I feel so much better. There's hope in hard questions. In a way, it's kind of manipulative because it's kind of asking all these questions which people are asking in the real world about AI. It's kind of playing on those concerns, but also saying, oh, no, we're the answer. So, right, because obviously it's for Anthropic. This is not an ad by the ad council where, the American Indian is going to go out there and cry because the America has been polluted. It's for a company. And basically the whole idea of the ad is for people to spend more money on Anthropic, right? Have a nice warm and fuzzy about Anthropic in the public's mind. And eventually the bottom line of any advertising campaign is so the company can make more money. Oh, Jack, don't be no, that's what it is. Jack, don't be cynical. Like, no, that's what it is. You don't create this unless it's to have an ROI. So it's kind of manipulative, though, because they're kind of building up these fears about the industry and then, in a way, kind of trying to play off of that to their benefit. Actually, that's kind of what Anthropic's been doing for quite some time. So maybe I shouldn't be surprised. All right. Third story of today's show. Google DeepMind CEO proposes AI frontier safety framework. Oh, Sam Altman and Chamath, you know the name, endorsed the pragmatic policy roadmap. So most of the top leaders have endorsed the roadmap. So how do you pronounce it? Is it Demis? I think that's how it is. Not for nothing, but if you win a Nobel Prize, God bless you. Thank you very much for your contribution to society. But do you have to put it in your Twitter bio or X bio? I think we all know you won the Nobel Prize. Do you? Get over yourself just a little bit. I think we all know that you won the Nobel Prize. I don't think you need to write it, in your bio. Just saying. A framework for frontier AI in the dawning of a new age. So somewhere down here, here it is here. This essay covered a lot of topics. I just want to focus on the governmental aspect of it. Because he's suggesting a government solution that basically is a new standards body modeled on a federally overseen public-private partnership or self-regulatory organization. We actually have something like this in the real estate industry, as you know, a miniature version of it. I know this analogy is ridiculous, but this exists in a lot of industries where the regulators are actually the people in the industry. So here in Massachusetts, and this is true almost in every state, I believe, there's a real estate board that's part of the government, and they issue the license. Here in Massachusetts is like 5 people on the board, 4 of which are in the business, and then 1 is an at-large member that represents the general public. But effectively, the industry polices itself. And that can be wrought with problems at times. There has, depending upon what type of industry you're in. So they're making the analogy that the Financial Industry Regulation Authority, FINRA, with the board that includes independent leading technical experts and open source representatives, in other words, business representatives, funding would need to be substantial. Well, of course it would. And mostly would come from the industry. So the industry is going to fund the board that it oversees. Okay, I get it. What could go wrong? In order to attract world-class technical talent and provide the necessary compute resources for large-scale testing. So you're going to send in your model on a voluntary basis, and the government agency, which the AI companies fund, are then going to review your model and definitely do that without any bias. Oh, you can trust them. They're not like the others. So right away, you can see a raft of problems. I kind of remember this movie. Was it The Big Short or was it Margin Call? Well, one of those movies where there's this character, there's this woman who, maybe it might be Wolf of Wall Street, who says she works at one of the federal regulators, and she's basically not paying attention to the to the secondary mortgage market, and she's just giving everyone a passing grade on whatever regulations she's supposed to approach or oversee. And the idea is that, as she elucidates in the movie, that she'll do this for 2 or 3 years, and then she'll get hired by one of the big companies as effectively a payoff, right? And so that's what will happen. There'll be young, ambitious people who join this agency at age 27 or whatever, just fresh out of business school or out of some type of law school. And then they'll work there for 3 years or something like that. They'll be super nice to XYZ company. And then what do you know? After that period of time, they'll get a job at the big company, right? There might be a cooling off period, but don't worry. They'll get some other type of gig. They'll figure it out because there's a big paycheck coming. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that definitely happens allegedly with FINRA. And but there's big type of entanglement between the government and a self-regulatory industry. There could be issues. That's not to say that I'm not in favor of some type of structure better than what we have now, because what we have now is de facto licensing without any regulation. And effectively what we have now is, does Trump like you or does he not like you? And so there's no due process. Nobody knows the rules because there are no rules. There, right? The rules shift every single day, and that is not a system that we can have in American capitalism. So I think there should be some type of system, and I'm glad that somebody's coming forth with some solution of what he calls a U.S.-led global watchdog. But I'm not so sure that it should be effectively run by the AI industry itself. On the other hand, as the article mentions, the fact that the government really doesn't have the resources to oversee this is a significant concern. I remember that AI meeting I went to in January, I believe, of this year at the State House here in Massachusetts. And I was listening to the regulators and the legislators, and I was just shaking my head in the back row. I was like, these people, A, aren't smart enough, and even if they were, B, they're not quick enough to regulate AI, which brings us to this very important critique of the article. Nobody in the world knows what for sure this is going to happen from here. Even the experts disagree. Let's read that again. As Sharuti, is that how you say it? Nobody in the world knows for sure what is going to happen from here. Even the experts disagree. He estimates the impact at 10 times the Industrial Revolution at 10 times the speed. And then he proposes a fix, the FINRA solution that we just spoke about. Once the protocol works, it becomes mandatory. That is absolutely true. Like, so the so-called voluntary becomes voluntold. Exactly. A model must pass to ship the U.S. market. Systems tested specifically for deception and guardrail bypasses. Benchmarks will be updated quarterly. The framework applies to frontier models regardless of the country of origin, China or American, open or closed. How's that going to work? DeepSeek claimed to train GPT-4 level model for $6 million and open sourced it to the world. Alibaba now has 50% of the open source market. ByteDance has 100 million users. The U.S. is not building this alone. So in other words, you know, the idea that you're going to do this and somehow, you know, regulate Chinese AI is ridiculous because China is not going to be held by any standard except the standard by which benefits China, right? No doubt about it. Standards body with no reach into Chinese models has a very large hole in it. U.S. market access for compliance condition is the only lever that actually closes it. Not that we want like a UN or EU type of worldwide body. We don't want that either. Here's the tension the essay does not resolve. Google's DeepMind is one of the labs racing hardest towards the thing Hassabis says nobody understands. Well, insert irony here. Alphabet spent $91 billion on capital expenditure in 2025. Wow, that's a lot of money. He is simultaneously pressing the accelerator and asking someone else, the government, to build the brake or to push the brake. He has been right before. Neural networks with academia, they were dead. Games as the ladder to science, AlphaFold solving biology, Nobel Prize in 2024. His track record and long contrarian bets are not average. Right. I mean, obviously we're dealing with someone with an exceptional mind, smarter than me, which is why the administration buried this essay admission matters more than the proposal. The person most likely to know what comes next just wrote publicly that nobody knows what comes next. A 30-day review window for something he compares to the discovery of fire? That is either the most important policy proposal in AI this year or evidence that even the people building this have no idea how to slow it down. I think it's both. In other words, this is an important policy suggestion, but the people making the suggestion and everyone, really, nobody knows how to slow this down. And maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe it shouldn't be slowed down. If you can't stop a speeding freight train, then don't stop it. Right? Don't get in the way. It will crash on its own. And what I think will eventually happen is we'll have economic ups and downs, and we'll have discovery followed by periods of non-discovery. We'll just say it incremental, and it will come and go. It will come and go. over time. And eventually you'll have these periods where things really stand out to you as major advances. Like, you know, obviously the launch of Windows 95 was a big deal. The launch of the iPhone was a big deal. Those types of things. But of course, those are developments that are made incrementally along the way, right? They didn't happen in a bubble. However, if it's going to be like fire, like the Industrial Revolution, and be 10 times the size of that and come at 10 times the speed, can anybody, let alone some type of lumbering government institution, which is actually in bed with the industry itself, solve the problem? I'm not too confident. All right, I'm John F. Gately, an actual human. Thanks for watching the Actual Human Show. Bye-bye.